Well, Governor Deukmejian, you followed Jerry Brown in office, and you have the unenviable position of following him now.
I was a state senator when Jerry Brown was governor. I never understood him then. I don't understand him now. Let me just take two fundamental governance issues that I think are fundamental to California today and in the future. And one of them is the budget. And when you mention the budget, most people's eyes glaze over. What you usually do is, before you put a budget together, you estimate what are the revenues going to be for that year. And then you are supposed to proceed with trying to decide how are you going to spend that money. And the whole budget process not only affects the financial condition of the state, but it also sets the priorities for society and for the state during that particular year. But what we have in Sacramento is that you don't just try to figure out how you're going to spend the estimated revenues, because there are so many mandated spending programs and increases in spending that are ingrained into existing law. They got there either by legislation that was passed, or they are the result of court decisions, or if it is a federal-state program, you're dealing with mandates from the federal government. So when you start to build the budget each year, the net result is that you only have about maybe 13% of the whole total revenue coming in for the state where you have some discretion as to how you're going to spend that money. During my last 2 years as governor, I had put out a white paper on this topic. I had tried to urge the legislature to put on the table all of these mandated programs, these automatic expenditures that are on autopilot. However, there was no receptivity to that because behind every single one of these mandated expenditures is an interest group. And nobody, of course, wants to see their particular program put on the table for discussion. In addition, I struggled to establish a prudent reserve for emergencies. Up until that time, that was never built into the budget. I'm glad to say that nowadays they are doing that. But if you just put a minimum of 3% for reserves, and that is not enough really, in a state where we have earthquakes and we have fires and we have floods and we have these mudslides. Sometimes the houses around here move faster than the traffic does. You have to set aside, we really should have about 5% as a reserve. So if you do that, you've got about 10% left, where a governor has some discretion along with the legislature. So fundamentally, one of the major areas that really needs to be addressed in this state is regarding the budget. And why is that important? It's important not only from the standpoint that if you spend more than you take in and you create a deficit, several things happen. It affects the credit rating of the state. We worked very, very hard in our 8 years to raise the state's credit rating to AAA. That's the top credit rating that a state government can get. I think today California is probably an A and down at the bottom in terms of credit ratings for states. That means the lower the credit rating, the more you have to pay when you are paying debt retirement of debt service on bonds that are voted on by the people and approved, so it becomes more costly the lower the credit rating goes. So credit rating is important. It's also important as it relates to investors, people that you're trying to attract to invest in the state to help to create job opportunities and a strong economy. If they see that a state government is continually running in the red and they don't see good fiscal management, and then they have a concern that there's going to be tax increases in order to come up with the revenue to meet the overspending and so on, all of this has an impact on the economy and on job opportunities. And the one thing that has been driving this state year after year after year has been our growth in population. And as we have this growth, during my 8 years, there was a 25% growth in population. When you have that growth, then you necessarily have to have a strong economy so that there are job opportunities for the people who are here and who are coming. And in order to have enough revenue coming off of that economy to pay for the growth in school enrollment, to pay for the growth in terms of more people going on health and welfare programs and the like. So the budget, while it's sort of an esoteric type of subject for a lot of people, it is extremely important and very basic and fundamental.